over the years, I've picked up a lot of things. I had to learn. I started off, being in the music industry, and I worked for the Jonas Brothers for about 3 years. And in that time, from then till now, there's a lot of things that I learned and that I picked up on as far as what makes a person successful, how I could achieve success. And what I've been able to do is I've been able to package those things and essentially be able to share what I know to people that are looking to get into it. So in this talk, we're going to talk about everything from entrepreneurship. We're going to talk about everything from the entertainment business. We're going to talk about just being a creative. We're going to talk about just experimenting and figuring things out. So let's go to the first card that we have. So I'm talking to Rich, who's manning the keys. I'll try to get him on camera a little bit later. We have the Collective Films producing this wonderful project for us today. So again, we're trying to sell their services. So if you need them for anything, we'll make sure to put their Instagram on here too. We're selling today, baby. Selling everything. Y'all getting this free Facebook Live? Somebody got to make some money. Whether it's me, whether it's you, we got to all make it together. Let's do it. So did we go up to the card yet, Rich? Mm-hmm. We already went to it? Okay. So let's go to the next card then.
So who am I?
Past the Who Am I. Did you do the Who Am I?
We did.
We did. Okay, all good. So how do I get started? One of the first things that I always tell people when it comes to getting started is set your intention. And not only do you need to set your intention of what you want to do, you need to be specific about that intention. A lot of times what happens is you may have an idea of what you want to do, and you may not necessarily know exactly how you should go about doing it. But what you should do is you should say, okay, this is what I want to do. And based off of everything that I know, this is how I want to go about it. And a lot of times, what they say, everybody has a plan until they get hit in the face. But if you set an intention and you set goals and you're very specific about how you want to execute whatever it is that you want to execute, when that thing goes wrong, because 9 times out of 10, something will go wrong in the process, then you can go to plan B. Now, plan B may be a lot looser than what plan A originally was, but if you're specific with your plan A and you're attacking plan A, if you have to go to plan B, you're going to be able to approach plan B with vigor, with enthusiasm, and a foundation, because you know what didn't work in plan A, and you're able to implement whatever it is that you want to do for plan B. The other thing is find your collaborators. It's interesting. A couple years ago, Rick Ross came out with an album called The Mastermind. It was called Mastermind. And on that album, if you listen to the opening track, there's this guy talking, and he's talking about basically the mastermind principle, which is utilizing friends, family, casual acquaintances, utilizing their skill set, their access, their reach to things, and ultimately bringing that in and using it to your benefit. It's not about using people. It's not about abusing your relationship with that person, but it's about helping further your agenda by being able to tap into the work and the ability and the access that someone else may have. And I work in the entertainment business. It's always about, leveraging someone else's platform. I sell projects all the time, and I'll go into a pitch meeting and I'll be like, this is the greatest project ever. You need to do it. It's the next Star Wars. It's the next Baby Boy. It's the next whatever you want to call it. And they'll be like, yeah, that's cool, but who do you have attached to it? Meaning, what actor or what other big name producer can you bring on board? Because they want to leverage that person's net worth or network, if you will. They want to leverage that to make this project ultimately bigger. And that's the crux that you find in the entertainment business, is where sometimes it's not just about how good of a story it is. It's about who else is in the story, what other actors, especially with social media. I have a friend who, is blowing up on social media right now, and he made a concerted effort to be bigger on social media. He just got over 1 million followers on Instagram, and he made a concerted effort to get bigger on social media because he was going into talent auditions and they were asking him, yeah, your audition was great, but how many followers do you have on Instagram? And he was like, wow, like my skill set is there, but you know, we're playing in a different world. And then the last thing that I would say for getting started is find your MVP. Your MVP is your minimum viable product. And in the business world, that is the lowest form of whatever it is that you want to create, but it's still acceptable to give to the public, right? So it's not the big idea, it's not the end goal, but it's something that you can give to the public that is still acceptable. And you know in the back of your mind that you want to take this further than what you're giving them, but it's a starting point. And I see a lot of people get caught up in the minutia of, oh, I'm not ready to put this project out yet because I don't have A, B, C. I'll give you an example of just getting started, right? So Issa Rae, when she first started Awkward Black Girl, if you go and look at the very first episode of Awkward Black Girl, she recorded that with two of her friends. One of them didn't know how to use a camera, and that person that didn't know how to use a camera was the person who actually shot the first episode of Awkward Black Girl. On the behind the scenes footage, you could literally hear Issa saying, this is where, like, make sure you can see both of us in the frame. Press this button to start recording. But Issa was hungry and she just wanted to get this idea that she had out there. Keep in mind, a lot of people don't know this, but Awkward Black Girl was originally supposed to be a cartoon. Once she found out that it was too expensive to make as a cartoon, she said, okay, well, I'm just gonna have to film it and I'm gonna be the lead character. Now think about that for a second. What if Awkward Black Girl would have came out as a cartoon? Maybe Issa Rae wouldn't be as big as she is now. So it was the fact that she was willing to just get started with her thing that ultimately led her to where she is now. Let's go to the comments. Are there any comments that I'm missing? Are you guys with me right now? Genevieve says, so true. Tony says, key. Takia, I'll get to yours for sure. Victoria, she says she likes that. That is absolutely right, Brittany. You can't hit a target you haven't envisioned or planned for. Hey, Nakir, thanks for tuning in. So yeah, so I'm glad that you guys are actually, you know, you're hearing me and you like what I have to say about those things. Let's go to the next slide. And I want you to read this, and let's leave that up for a second, and I want them to process it. So this slide says, some people sell the process more than the results, right? So this is the press release strategy, right? Where we live in a time where there's instant access to everything, and you're not doing anything. You could be making all the money in the world, but if you're not showing it on social media, you could be as successful as you want. But if you're not showing it on social media, we live in a world where that means that you're not doing anything. I heard a quote one time, they said, you know, what's great work if nobody's seeing it? And while I can understand that way of thinking, you know, obviously internally I disagree, but knowing the world that we play in, you got to show your work, right? And so I see a lot of people see a lot of people getting respect for their progress, not necessarily what they finished, but just getting respect for the fact that they're trying to do something. I can't tell you how many times I've seen a press release for something that has never actually come out. Think about that. Like, if you're in the entertainment industry, people announce, oh, I'm working on, you know, CNN bought this project, ABC bought this other project. You'll see that all the time, but those projects never come out. But yet, when that announcement goes out, the person who is featured in the press release, all of a sudden their phone is blowing up. They're getting emails. Their social media reach goes up. And that's because they're getting people to buy in to their process, a process that may never hit the finish line. So it's really interesting to me that we live in that time, but you should use that to your advantage. Use the fact that people will buy into your process more than the end result. Now, I hope that you accomplish everything that you want, but for lack of a better way of saying it, I'm gonna keep it real with y'all. There's a business in actually just showing progress, and there's a way to make money sometimes in just showing progress and not even showing the end result. How do you guys feel about that? I'm gonna go to the comments again. I love that you guys don't have the comments dry as hell, so keep talking. Let's see. Easy question, Justin, how can I purchase an Awkward and Black shirt? You can go to awkwardblackstore.com and we can get that to you. Hey, Anna, thanks for it. Hey, Damon, thanks for tuning in. I'm excited to see what you're doing next. Jenny asks, do you recommend speaking about a project that's still in the works or in the very beginning stages? I would say it just depends on who you're talking to, right? A lot of times a trick that I use is if I'm in a meeting about a particular project and I know that I have another project that I want to bring to the table as well, even if it's just an idea and I haven't fully fleshed it out, I may say something like, you know what, I actually have a project that's in the world that we're talking about, and I'm going to bring that to you later. That way you can kind of whet their palate. You can kind of, get them excited about what's to come ultimately. I don't really believe, I know a lot of people are like, oh, don't tell your ideas, people will steal them, people will take them. I don't really believe in that too much. I mean, I have seen cases where people have taken an idea and ultimately, people have tried to create something that you were doing, but at the end of the day, they can't create it if it's not you. If it's your thing, if it's your vision, if it's your passion, it's not going to be fully fleshed out unless it's you. Let's go to the next slide. Can we get a verbal hand clap for Rich and the Collective Films crew? Because they are killing it. Did I say verbal? I meant to emoji hand clap. My bad, I'm tripping over my words. But hey, this is live, baby. This is my first time doing it. They should have never gave me a camera. All right, so needle shift mindset. When you're getting started with something, you have to understand, you have to think about how can I move the needle on what it is that I'm doing, right? So the first thing I would say is don't be an artist. And what I mean by that is sometimes people get caught up in, again, like I said before, the thing that they want to do, because they may put it out there to the world and it may not look like what they originally thought it was supposed to look like or what they had in their head. And because of that, they think that what they're doing is a failure, right? I think about Instagram, for example. Instagram started off as an app that was for travelers to connect with one another while they were traveling around the world. And they were realizing that the app wasn't getting as much steam as they thought it should get. And so they had a meeting, and in that meeting they said, what do we need to do to get to 1 billion followers? So they were sitting down, they were thinking, and they started looking at the analytics and the data of the app and trying to figure out what people were using the most out of the app. And what they found was that people were taking pictures. The picture function was the most used part of the app that they had. And they said, we should make Instagram a photo sharing app. And I'm just gonna sit there and be quiet for a second. Okay, I think you get the point, right? If the founders of Instagram were being artists and wanted to stick to their guns of, no, this is a travel app, and if it's not a travel app, it's nothing, we wouldn't have Instagram today. How many of y'all are on Instagram? I'm on Instagram. My Instagram handle is NoniBizz, NoniBizz. I don't know if the lower third has popped up, but if it hasn't, let's pop it up now. Hit me with a follow. By the time I check my Instagram tonight, I hope that my DMs and my follows are hella lit. All right, so don't be an artist, meaning don't get stuck on that thing that you're creating not looking like what you ultimately thought it was going to look like. Now, if it's a passion project, if this is your baby and it doesn't come out the way that you want and you want to scrap the whole thing, that's fine. That's your prerogative. But when it comes to, I just want to get something done, maybe you want to make some money, maybe you want to, have credibility in the space, don't be an artist. The other thing that I think about when I'm creating something is I say, okay, is the situation that I'm walking into, is it going to make me money? Is it going to increase my leverage, or am I going to learn, right? So very simple. Am I going to make money from it? Ask yourself that. Yes or no. You don't always have to make money off of everything, so it doesn't have to be a yes. That's fine. Leverage. Is my participation in this thing going to put me on a platform to where I can go and do other things, or I can continue to do this thing at a higher level? Number 3, learning. Am I going to learn from my involvement with this project? I've sold plenty of projects, whether it be from the podcast space, whether it be even recently a TV show, and even web series I've sold over the past couple years. And I'll be honest, I literally a couple days ago, I pitched the project to someone. They said, okay, we like this idea. And they said, okay, how much is it going to cost me? I said, I'll send you an email with some numbers and let's go from there. As I'm crunching the numbers, I realized that this company, the type of media that I was pitching them on, they had never done this type of media before. So I said to myself, I got to create the lowest barrier of entry possible so that they say yes to my idea, because ultimately I want to be aligned with this company. And if I come with a high price tag and they say no, then I don't get to align with them. And the reason why it was important for me to align with them is because I know that me aligning with them will ultimately be able to take my career in directions that has never gone before, right? So when I put together this budget, and this is funny, I'm actually giving y'all the real, most people wouldn't tell you this, but I put together a budget with that, it basically covered the production cost only. It didn't cover any fees for myself, because the money that I want to command from them and that I can command from them is going to make them walk away, because they're not in that field just yet. So I wanted to come with the lowest number possible. So for me, I wanted to increase my leverage, and that is the reason why I pitched them the way that I did. So stay tuned, we'll see if they bite. Define your framework. A lot of times when you walk into a situation, you have to be knowledgeable, or you have to have a look at yourself in the mirror and say, I will work under these circumstances, right? Whatever that box is. At the point that your needs aren't being met, then that's when you have to kill that situation or address it so that your needs are being met. And then the Lego method, which is you start to stack different things. So as you get started, you start to stack whatever it is, stack your leverage, stack your learning, stack your money, stack those things up so that you can ultimately get to where you want to be. You may start, if your game plan is just to get leverage, you might have low leverage when you begin, but through a series of events that you find yourself in that situation, your leverage will be high by the time you walk out. And that project that you didn't make any money on, now you can go sell to someone else for 10 times what you would have made. So be willing to stack. And by the way, this Lego method, I made that up last night, and I feel like if you put method at the end of something, it makes you sound smarter. So I put Lego method, and y'all were all into it, huh? So from now on, I'm just gonna put method behind everything. I guarantee y'all will be into it. So let's go to the questions and see what we got going on here. I have 4 babies, projects, gotcha. Money, leverage, lesson and learn. It's all about strategy. Coin the phrase. I will definitely do that, Michael. Is this live feed going to be available later? There's so much good stuff here. Yes, it will definitely be available later. On the Bread Boston YouTube page, this will go up, and this will also be on Facebook as well. Pregnant pause for dramatic effect, yes. Are you an author or any plans to write an ebook? A lot of knowledge here. I am not an author. I have a couple posts on Medium, so I feel like I'm doing it. But I definitely have plans to write a book or an ebook one day, but I just haven't been able to. Genevieve says she struggles with being an artist. We all do at times. And Genevieve says your work is A1, guys. So thank you to the collective. Danielle asks, what do you do when you have an idea but don't have the resources or funds to actually make it happen? Well, resources, I feel like resources is all relative, right? Because you may think that you don't have the resources, but you may know somebody who has the resources to that thing. So the first thing that you should do when you're trying to get people involved in your thing is, one, to show passion, right? To show someone that this is what I'm looking to create, and with your involvement, this is where it can go. You got to understand, as human beings, we are used to being a part of a tribe, right? And after, what was that? See, this is live, I'm forgetting. What was the Industrial Revolution? Is that right, guys? Somebody help me out here. Everybody shaking their head. Okay. So after the Industrial Revolution, what happened was cities were built. And when cities were built and there was a competition for jobs, then we started to lose our tribe effect, when before you had to rely on your neighbor, you had to rely on people closest to you just to live. But as cities were built and as the Industrial Revolution took over, we became separated. So never forget that people just want to be a part of something. When Issa was starting Awkward Black Girl, I would hear about the things that she was doing, and I sent her a page-long email, and I said, listen, all those things that you're doing, they're great. Here's how I can help. Here's how I could be of service to you. And that's another trick. Like, whenever you want to break into something, you have to be a service provider. A lot of people, I say this all the time, they want to walk into an industry and they want to take money, they want to take resources. They want to take from that industry without giving to that industry first. So if you don't have money, or if you feel like you don't have resources, become a service provider for that industry. If you want to be in the travel business, create a travel blog and write about your favorite travel influencers, your favorite travel companies. If you want to be in the sports world, find a way to interview the dopest athletes and put them on a platform and raise their profile, so ultimately they could say, you know what, I remember when you had your little blog and you gave me my first shot, or, if it's music, you gave me my first shot for a lot of people to hear my music, so I'm gonna help you rise up. So that's my my little advice. I feel like I was going on with I had an Issa Rae story and then I got sidetracked, but let's go back to the comments. Let's see. Be a service provider, yes. Industrial Revolution. Thank you, Lynette. So Tony says, talk about effective networking. Well, first of all, I was always taught that you don't network with buildings, you network with individuals, right? So the most effective way that you can network is to connect with someone. One, if you come to me and you say, hey, I want to network, like I'm already turned off. Like, don't come to me and say that you want to network. Find a way to tap into something that I care about. Let's build a genuine conversation. And from that genuine conversation, we could build. So one thing that I do when I walk into a room, I scan what I call common points, right? A thing that I can reference to lower your guard and for us to connect on. So if I walk into an office building and say you have a football helmet of the Dallas Cowboys, and I'll be like, oh, it's a shame what we did to you last season, right? I could say, I'm a Redskins fan and, we beat you guys, but maybe you guys will get better. That other person's gonna, want to stick up for their team, but it's lighthearted, it's a joke. And that's the best way to connect with people, is to find a common point. Look at their shirt. What are they wearing? Like, oh, I like that character on your shirt. I used to have a shirt just like that. I don't know. I'm giving bad examples, but the point that I'm trying to make is find a connection point with people. That's the best way to network. Because once you establish that connection point, then you keep in touch. Hey, I saw it was your birthday. Just want to say happy birthday. And the other thing about networking that I think people get wrong all the time is they want to hit a home run out the park, like when they meet someone. Just because you meet me today does not mean we're going to do anything tomorrow, next week, a month. I've had situations where I've met someone, we just stayed in touch over the years, and literally 2 or 3 years later, we found something to work on together. So with networking, first you got to find a connection point, and two, just realize that relationship needs to be nurtured, it needs to develop, and when the time is right, it'll work out. Yes, small talk, build a rapport. Tell us about your worst pitch and what made it the worst, both you pitching and someone pitching to you. I don't have a worst pitch because all my pitches are A1. Just kidding. As far as someone pitching me, and then I'll go into my worst pitch, I have to think about that. But as someone pitching to me, I think the number one thing that bothers me is people not giving me a reason other than the fact that you want to send me your project. You don't really give me a reason to want to work with you, right? Like I get a lot of emails and it's just like, hey, I have this project. I think it'll be great for your platform. Here's the link. Okay, like what else? Why is it great for the platform? What about this project or what about your email makes you think that I want to stop doing what I'm doing to read this email? I'm not trying to sound harsh. I'm actually the nicest guy possible when it comes to this. Like anybody who knows me will tell you, but it's the truth. I get so many emails and DMs that people will just say, hey, Benoni, I just wanted to know if I could pick your brain. Do you have a second to talk, right? And I'm like, okay, what are we talking about? What is it that you're looking to do? And so it goes back to my original point of the best way to get someone involved with your thing is to excite them about your thing. As far as my worst pitch, one time I was on a conference call with a very big network and I was on a call with my team and they were like, we were pitching the network on a couple projects and there was a project that they were really excited about. And I was on the call thinking that I was just gonna listen and be able to take notes and be able to debrief with the team after the call. But someone from my team kind of threw me the lob and was like, oh, Benoni, do you wanna explain this part? And it was a part that I didn't really feel comfortable explaining. So I was stuttering and it was just all bad. We ended up selling the project, so I didn't completely derail the project, but that haunted me for sure. Are the rules of entrepreneurship different from industry to industry? Yeah, of course. They're definitely different, but there's some foundation points to everything. One, getting other people excited about what it is that you're working on, finding common points to connect with people in your industry. And the number one rule for every industry, I don't care what industry it is, the number one rule to breaking in to any industry is to be a service provider before you take from that industry. Barry says, I do not respond to those kind of emails. Those are time wasters. Saying hi is a great way for me not to respond. Absolutely. Montreal just joined. Montreal is a huge reason why we have this setup, so thank you, Montreal. Let's see. Any other questions? We're about 45 minutes, and I know for some of y'all it's late. Barry says, writing up the podcast method. Absolutely. So I'm really big on podcasting right now, guys. I have probably 4 projects coming out this year. I'm really big in the scripted space. So we came out with a show called Fruit. If you go on iTunes and type in Issa Rae Presents Fruit, you'll be able to listen to season 1. But I'm really big into podcasting. The reason why I'm big into podcasting is because I feel like I have a competitive advantage because I've been doing video for so long. And so a lot of the tips and techniques from video production, you can transfer over to podcasting. And it's a wide open space. And especially because of the color of my skin, people let me walk into rooms and they think that I'm an authority on selling to black people. Dramatic pause again. You catch that? So I'm really big on podcasting. Let's see. What are you looking forward to this year? I mean, this year is really about just pushing forward, and for as much as I'm a hustler and entrepreneur, I think that last year I kind of fell into my pocket of like, okay, these are the things that I'm doing. This is my day to day. But this year I just kind of want to expand and build bigger. Discuss your management company and how you help your clients build their brands. So I have a management company called the Bizz Plan, and my secret sauce to my management company, when I say secret sauce, that's almost the same way as for me saying method. But my secret sauce and my method to my management company is I take people who are primarily based on social media and I help them build businesses that are sustainable and that are profitable. I'm not really interested in working with social media influencers. I look at a client, a potential client, I say, okay, I see what you're doing. How can we scale that up and create a living, thriving business? It's been great. Tonya has been a dream client to work with from MyFab Finance. Peakmill has been a dream client. They both have great things coming up for them. And it's really a process that I learned from working with Issa Rae because, I do business development for her. So it's constantly about looking for opportunities to increase our revenue, looking for strategic partnerships, and just figuring out a way to expand. Because at the end of the day, Issa Rae Productions is really just a production company. All these other ancillary things, they help build the business and grow. But we're not interested in being just a production company because at the level that we're at right now, where we're selling TV shows, 9 times out of 10, when you sell a TV show, it's a work for hire, meaning that when a company buys that show, you no longer have any of the rights to it. You're attached as a producer, but if you want to go and make t-shirts from that TV show, you got to ask permission. If you want to go on tour, doing something based around that TV show, you got to ask for permission. So a lot of my job is figuring out how can we own things that we do and how can we expand our business so that we're not just a production company. Are there any books? I'm glad you actually reminded me. I do have a book. I have a couple books. Thank you, sir. So I brought a couple books for you all to check out. So the first book is called Launch, and it's basically how you can launch any product online. It's a great read. This book is very methodical. It's a very step-by-step book on, how to launch a product. The other book I have is called Hooked. This is a great read. It basically tells you how companies build technology to get you hooked. And this you could probably read, in a week. It's a short read, but this book changed how I look at everything. I don't look at Facebook the same. I don't look at Instagram the same. I play this game called HQ Trivia, and literally this HQ Trivia game is a live game show, and you'll tune in and they'll have 800,000 people tuned in at any given time. And I look at everything that they're doing, and I'm like, everything that they're doing was in this book. So this is a great book. And then Losing the Signal. This book is about BlackBerry and their rise and their fall. And the one takeaway that I got from this is you got to be willing to adapt. There was literally a chapter in here about BlackBerry refusing to, one of the founders said something like, oh, there'll never be a world where a phone is 100% touchscreen. Dramatic pause again. He literally said there will never be a world where a phone is 100% touchscreen. People want a keyboard. They have to have a keyboard. And that was one of the pivotal mistakes as to why BlackBerry is, not as big as they once were. But the one thing to think about BlackBerry, and it goes back to my point of not being an artist, BlackBerry started off as an advertising company. They had a thing where you can type in words and those words would appear on the screen, and they would put that in front of stores and things like that. But now BlackBerry's selling their technology. So that's an example of BlackBerry not being an artist anymore, even though they were being an artist at one point. So those are the books I recommend. So we're gonna wrap up here pretty soon, but I'm gonna try to get to your last couple questions. How do you determine if a social media influencer can sustain a business? And is this without, oh, I'm sorry, I lost it, Montreal. Oh, and is this worth managing, partnering with? So for me, I have three things that I look for when I'm looking for a new client. You have to, it's content, audience, and revenue, right? So the one thing that you have to have before I'm interested in working with you is you have to have content. If you don't have content, that's a non-starter for me. Audience and revenue, those two, you can have one or the other, or you cannot have any of the two, and I will still consider working with you if you have content, because content is the start to it all. If you have content, then I'm gonna help you find a way to build an audience around it. Eventually, I'm gonna help you find a way to build revenue around it. I have some people that I meet that have content or who are making money, but they might go do a brand deal and make $10,000, and after they make that $10,000, now they're looking for their next deal. So for me, I'm like, okay, how can we make $2,000 10 times instead of making $10,000 one time? So that's kind of the strategy that I go with. Am I taking on new clients? Absolutely. What's the first step a new production company in digital space should take in order to be sustainable? Well, Joy, it all starts with content. So develop dope projects. 3 things you would have told your younger self. I would say relax, it's not that serious. You're not gonna believe what's gonna happen, number 2. And number 3 is, man, you got it and the world's gonna see. I almost got emotional on that 3rd one. Okay, let's see. All right, as we wrap up, I'm just gonna comb through and see if I missed anything else. Yes, Barry, 4 projects. How do you shop a web series? Well, I think that first you got to find out who that web series is for, and then, develop that project and pitch it. For us right now, we don't really put money into third-party web series. So if you come to us with a web series idea, we don't really put money into it. But if you have it shot and all you need is a distribution platform, then we can help you with that. So you just have to know who you're going to take it to. Unfortunately, if it's a show that's for black people or people of color, there's not that many buyers. There's a lot of companies that have popped up over the years and they've all gone away. So, there's not a lot of buyers for that content. You have LOL, which is Kevin Hart. You might be able to take it to Blavity. And honestly, I don't know who else you could take it to. It's unfortunate. If you want to come to us, we'll definitely distribute it. But it starts with the content. Have good content. How do you deal with stress and pressure? I try not to get stressed out. Even no matter what's going on, I try to go to bed at a certain time. And when I lay down and watch TV and watch sports, it is what it is. I'll take it on the next day. All right, so I think we pretty much covered all of your questions. I really appreciate you all for joining. Yeah, like I said, Lior and Tim from Make Bread and from Higher Purpose Co., they're going to be doing more events like this. There's a lot of content on the Bread Boston website, Higher Purpose Co. website. On the Make Bread YouTube page, there's a lot of videos and a lot of content, but I just want to say I appreciate you all for joining. Shout out to the Collective Films for putting this together. Make sure you follow them on Instagram. They do dope work. They're amazing. And yeah, we appreciate you all. I hope you all have a good night.